Hello, Trojan fans. Welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast. Not television, but we are simulcasting live on our YouTube channel over youtube.com/InsideTroy. Yes, the Peristyle Podcast is back. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, alongside Chris Trevino. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for doing that. And if you're listening on any of our podcast feeds, thank you for that as well. We have to talk about USC football because it's game week. We're really excited. USC opening against Rice. Pac-12 Network, 3 p.m. at the Coliseum. If you have any questions or comments for the show, we always appreciate hearing from you. Podcast at uscfootball.com. That is our email address. If you have, you want to send us a text, you want to send us a voicemail, you can do that as well. The number is 424-254-9141. And if you're watching or listening on the Apple Podcasting app or any of the podcasting apps out there, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. It definitely helps us to grow the show. So it's a lot of fun. When we're doing that, we get the reviews from you guys talking about the show. We cool. We'll read them on the air if we got, let me check to see if we got a new one. Oh, we do have a couple new ones, so I can read those for you here in a second. But I want to welcome in Chris Trevino because he's sitting right next to me. Chris, man, what's up, buddy?
Do not let my sleepy face deter you or anyone watching. I'm very excited that we're officially in game week. We get to cover a game on Saturday, Ryan. After, a weekend of watching college football, I'm excited to be out there myself and cover a game. A little worried about how hot it's going to be, and I'm going to be on the field this season, so I'm going to roast down there on the Coliseum field. But nonetheless, excited that we're covering a game this weekend.
There is a game. We're like just days away. We can start counting hours away from USC playing Rice. There wasn't a whole lot. It's funny. We'll get to it in a second, but talked to Lick and Riley today. No one was really talking about the opponent. I asked them one question at the end, like, hey, what about Rice? But you're actually got an opponent coming up. So that's going to be exciting. We got a new 5-star review. It's for your show, Chris, the 2-star.
No way.
Fade Cunningham, Cilantro, Menudo, Boys for Life, MXMXMX. Unfortunately, we also have a 1-star review. We don't read those, but we get those rarely. But someone that, we're breaking the rules, man. 5 stars only. You can talk trash about us in the review if you want, but you got to leave us.
For which one?
It was composite 1-star review. It was about your show. So you got a 5-star on one end and a 1-star on the other one. But thanks for leaving the reviews. It does help to grow the show and push that stuff around. And I want to thank our sponsor, Trader Joe's, because we got some kind of newsy stuff with that. We're going to get some Trader Joe's product, Chris, coming up. We are doing an official USCfootball.com tailgate at the Coliseum. So we got to reach out to our boys at Trader Joe's, the friends over there. They're going to provide a whole bunch of snacks and some drinks and stuff. So I'm going to pick that up actually tomorrow and bring it out to the tailgate. If you don't know, so if everyone's welcome. It's free. The tailgate will start about noon. I'll probably be setting up there like 10, 11. If you get there a little early, that's fine too. Chris and I will be there, and this is when our official bake-off is going to be. We're making, so you can try out. Everyone that come can do a blind taste test and try out and vote for which one you want to, which cupcake you like better, but there'll be red velvet cupcakes. We'll probably have to cut them in like quarters or something. And whoever's out there, as long as we have cupcakes available, you can try them and put your vote in for. We'll do like an A or a B, and then we'll see who wins, and it'll be a blind test.
I'm going to win. That's what the answer is.
Perfect. All right. I asked him, we're leaving practice today. I asked Chris how many test runs he's made baking.
He's trying to get in my head.
I'm just psychologically turning the screws.
I've done 3 runs already. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I have not. I haven't even thought about it, but we will. I'll start thinking about it soon because we don't have that much time left. But if you want to come to the tailgate, not just to judge the Bake Off that we're having, which to be honest, I don't remember. Why did we do the Bake Off? What was the point of this? Do you remember?
I think I mentioned something about baking, and then you were like, "Oh, I like to bake," and I just
suggested a Bake Off.
Just threw out we can. This was in the drums of summer,
right?
And we didn't really have much to do, so it was like, why don't we do that? And then we kept putting it off, and now here we are.
Here we are,
baking for
baking, even though we have preparing for a game and everything. Right. But so just to let you know real quick about the tailgate, we were going to be over. Thanks to Tailgater Concierge too, they're giving us the space over there. It'll be in the California African American Museum lawn. That's 600 State Drive. But I put up a link if you go to the USCFootball.com message boards, either Peristyle or the Fight On forum. You can see there's a map there and showed up. We had a lot of fun last year. We'll have some drinks for you, but if you have adult beverages you can bring those. Dan will be on the grill. We got my friend Jackie Rowe, who has Massages by Jackie. We'll have a table set up doing free 10-minute massages. People love those last year. You get, she just works for tips or whatever, but it's cool. And make sure you come check it out. So I hope you can come by. Chris and I will probably be gone by 2 o'clock. So don't show up at 2:30. Where's Ryan and Chris?
I'll be gone way before that. But.
Yeah, but we got to get there. So try to get there early, and you can see us. And it'll be a lot of fun. So looking forward to an actual tailgate, actual game, all those kind of things. So
I would appreciate if no one talked to me as well.
Chris doesn't want to be talked to.
No.
Is it? Well,
I'm going to stand in the corner.
So do me a favor and just get in there and ask him all kinds of questions. Talk to him about whatever you want. That's just kind of what Chris does. So we have if you're watching on YouTube, we have the comments and stuff up. So I will try to put up some comments and questions and stuff during the broadcast. But we have some breaking news because we are at practice this morning. So we're recording this on a Tuesday afternoon, and Lincoln Riley, sometimes just when he does his little scrum, his media scrum, he talks to us, just starts answering questions. He had an announcement, and the announcement was the 4 captains, the 4 team captains were named. He said, it's a team vote. It sounded like it wasn't very close, Chris. It was pretty clear, these were the 4 guys that sort of stood out.
Other guys got votes, but he made it sound like. But all in all, these were the guys that dominated the voting process.
Yeah. So we'll go through them. I got pictures of these guys if you're watching on YouTube. Caleb Williams, the quarterback transfer from Oklahoma. Shocker. Also Shane Lee, the linebacker transfer from Alabama. So those guys were represented at Pac-12 Media Day. You could argue the best player on the defense, Tuli Pelotu, who's coming to his own. Seems like more of a vocal leader now. And then, maybe a bit of a surprise, Justin Dietch, the 5th-year player, the starting right guard. First year really full-time as a starter. Justin Dietch, one of the 4 captains. So, Chris, get your thoughts on any of these guys. I mean, you can pat yourself on the back. I know you gave Dietch the dark horse. We thought maybe Voorhees, but I think we mentioned Dietch a couple times. But thoughts on the captains?
Before I get into my Justin Dietch diatribe, the other 3, Caleb Williams, Shane Lee, those 2 right off the bat, no one is really shocked about those guys. Those guys have been raved about all summer and spring and the offseason, just about their leadership from the moment they both stepped on campus, whether it's Caleb, taking over the huddle first day on, even though he's a transfer, or Shane Lee and just the same thing, the impact on accountability meetings. I believe it was Lincoln Riley that told a story about Shane Lee kind of stepping up right away when they were holding an accountability meeting. This guy who's been here 3 days. And so that's leadership quality. And, they both set the example on the field. You see it every day, whether it's them staying after practice, Caleb staying to help somebody run who is doing an extra running, or Shane Lee in the corner working on the bag. That's the stuff you see. So absolutely not shocked that any of those guys, or those 2 guys, were picked as captains. Those guys make sense. Lincoln Riley has said that, some of his best teams, the team captain, the overall captain, has been led through the quarterback position. So I don't think anyone is shocked that Caleb is holding that position. And those obviously were representatives at Pac-12 Media Day. So again, no surprises there. Tuli, also not really a surprise, because while he is maybe a little bit more reserved than the other two guys, we've seen Thule really step out of his shell. The coaching staff and Lincoln Riley really challenged him to be a leader this offseason, be more vocal, and he's really taking up that challenge. You can just tell when you talk to him, just seems a lot more confident in himself in terms of speaking. And we know what kind of playmaker he is on the field. Arguably USC's best he is USC's best defensive player, and arguably one of the better players on the entire team, regardless of offense or defense or anything like that. So Thule, an All-American candidate, makes sense that he's there. Now Justin Dietch, we tweeted out. Obviously, a lot of people were buzzing about it on social media, and the common thread was if people reacted to the tweet, it was basically Justin Dietch. That's really kind of a shocker, but I get it. So it is sort of a surprise, but I do want to go on record and remind people that I went on record as saying that Justin Dietch absolutely could be a team captain, a true dark horse. So, Ryan, can you give me an applause?
Hold on.
I know we have it. I want to soak it in as much as I can.
There's your applause.
Unlike Justin Dietch, I will not be humble about getting this pick right. I will not be doing that whatsoever. Because Justin Dietch is obviously somebody who I think epitomizes what you want in a team leader. He is consistent. He's always showing up. He brings the juice. I asked Jonah Monheim, what makes Justin Dietch a great captain? He's like, he kind of sets the standard for us in that O-line room. He's bringing that energy. And we've seen it, Ryan, over the years. We've seen him with clips of him, ripping his shirt off, giving the guys fired up, breaking down team breakdowns and summer workouts. He's a workout warrior in the training room. Shane Lee gets a reputation for being a dude in the weight room. Justin Dietch equally as yoked and as passionate in the weight room, so he also sets the standard there. And he's just a guy who's not afraid to call out people, and that's what you have to do as a captain. And I think back to when it's really started to click, like Justin Dietch, absolutely dark horse candidate for a captain spot was, Ryan, as you remember, that Cal week, and which was a weird time. Obviously, it was a delayed game from COVID, past the point of Lincoln Riley had already been hired. It was this weird time. He'd already been announced as the coach, did his presser, but they still had a game to prep for. Dante Williams and that interim staff. So Riley was at practice, and obviously this was a game that didn't really mean anything in terms of standings or bowl eligibility. They were just trying to play out the final game. And if you recall, that week there was that, I believe it was the Wednesday practice, but there was something going on in the locker room. The guys weren't coming out to practice. There was some discussions for the players in the locker room before practice, like, hey, should we play this game? Does it really mean anything? There was a group of players saying that and kind of leading these discussions. And I always remember how upset and frustrated Justin Dietch was, because you saw guys coming in, going back out. And I always remember this quote, and I wrote about it at the time in those Ghost Notes, and it became sort of a memorable quote on the Peristyle, and still is to this day, and it will be as Justin Dietch as a captain. But he went back in, and right when he was walking in, he said, I'm going to go in there and lay down the bleeping hammer. He's going to go lay down the hammer, and that's something that's always stuck with me, and that's kind of the mentality that you need out of a team captain. Someone who's not afraid to call out a group, call out a team, call out individual. So I think Justin Dietch perfectly fits with all those guys I just mentioned. It's someone that brings a lot of energy and brings a lot of aggressiveness on the field and leadership and intelligence. And I think it's a stacked team captain lineup for these Trojans.
Yeah, and I think he showed accountability last year when that was something that was lacking. Mm-hmm. And now that's like in vogue, right? Accountability is in vogue. But he was doing it when it wasn't cool.
Just like he was with the mustache before Top Gun brought it back.
Yes.
So he's always been ahead of the curve.
Right. But congratulations to the 4 captains. We also learned that Lincoln Riley will release a depth chart. So we got our notes, came in on Sunday. Usually USC releases a bunch of notes before the game. has the roster. It has like updates to things if somebody's no longer on the roster, and some notes about the opponent and all that kind of stuff, records and things like that. Usually a depth chart would be included in that. It was not, but Lincoln Riley said he typically likes to do a depth chart on Wednesday night. That's what they've done, because he said if you're telling everyone you're competing for spots on the team, and then the two most important practices before a game week are that Tuesday full pads and then Wednesday going into it. So if you say, well, here's what the depth chart is before you even practiced, well, what's the point? You're kind of lying to the players, saying that practice doesn't matter. Here's where the depth chart's going to be. That logically, I mean, that makes sense to me. So any thoughts on that? Well, we should know. So Tuesdays they practice in the morning. And that's why we're here doing this in the afternoon. Then Wednesdays they do a late afternoon practice to early evening. Maybe it will be released when practice is over, but I would think if you're going to watch practice and kind of get an assessment, it might be later on that night. But yeah, so any thoughts on him releasing a depth chart on Wednesday?
No, I mean, you pretty much hit on everything. I mean, it makes sense. This is something he's been preaching all offseason. Competition, players have to earn it on the field. You do that in practice. And what would it look like if he did it before they even completed the toughest parts of their practice week? So again, just makes sense. He said he would be a hypocrite if he did that. So he really kind of backing up your words with your actions, and that is a big action to kind of release it after your the closing of their toughest days of practice. So I think that's just a right move, and it's no skin off my back. I know a lot of people are like, when is the depth chart going to be released? When is the depth chart going to release? Well, it's going to be released Wednesday night, or Thursday morning if they have to solidify it after practice. So we'll see. I think I think there won't be a lot of surprises on there. I think there'll be some interesting things on there. Obviously, one of them being kind of the left tackle thing.
Yeah. That's
still sort of up in the air. But I think for the most part, we have an idea of who's going to be out there with some wrinkles involved.
Yeah, for sure. We knew that Boulevard announced we had Michael Jones on our Sunday night show when Boulevard went official. We do have some questions on that, so instead of like kind of talking at the top of the show, I think we'll get to that in the questions. Anything else, Chris, you wanted to touch on, like going in? I did ask Lincoln Riley about playing Rice. He talked about them having they gave a lot of teams. It's a 4-8 team like USC. With a lot of close games. They gave Arkansas all they could handle for a while. Some experienced guys coming back on defense. This is a 34-point, USC's a 34-point favorite. But any thoughts on what you've seen? I know you wrote up, kind of things to look at for Rice. We'll do some more Rice previews and stuff later in the week. Our Thursday night Tunnel Vision show, so live like this, but on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. We'll do that live, and Shotgun will be in studio. We'll do more of an in-depth preview of what to expect from Rice. But any thoughts on what you heard today from Lincoln Riley or anyone else on playing Rice?
I think the most interesting thing is when I was talking to Jonah Monheim, and obviously offensive line is going to be huge for this team and kind of protecting Caleb. And Rice does have some experience and some talent on that defensive front. So, I asked Jonah, what have you seen from that front? And he says they're a good group. They're experienced. They get creative in what they do in terms of, giving offenses twists and kind of creative blitzes. So that's going to be a storyline for Saturday as far as this offensive line being a veteran group, but still kind of young on the edges, depending on, if Cortland Ford takes that spot and Jonah Monheim on the right side. I think that's something they maybe struggled with at times last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it moving forward into the season, especially with let's be honest, Rice probably isn't a super good barometer because they were really bad last year. With some moments, they have some talent on the field, but I think it's a good first early step, like a good, not practice line, but I think it's a good first test in terms of, getting their feet wet. You got Stanford next week. You don't want to overlook Rice, but I think it's a good early round to go. They got experience, they got some talent, they got some guys you got to watch out for. So I think it's a good first game again, I don't want to say practice, but first, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. The first good test, the first question on an exam. It's not the hardest one, but I think it's a good one to kind of start off with.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be interested in how they handle those kind of twists and creative blitzes, especially with USC having a very veteran interior line. I wonder if they'll try to attack more on the edges as opposed to going at, an All-American candidate like Voorhees or a 3-year starter and Brett Nealon. And, Justin Dietch hasn't been starting that long, but he's a center. He's smart. So it's nice to have 2 centers on the line, something he mentioned. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Riley talked about, the offense will be somewhat familiar. It'll look Stanford-like, right? So, to play sort of like Stanford light in week 1, I think that can help for week 2 with Stanford. I know we had a comment. Hold on, let me pull it up there about Stanford. I want to this is from Gary. And Gary, I don't want to roast you, but I'm going to roast you a little.
Oh, no.
Per Reign of Troy, our friends over there, first trap game of the 2022 USC college football season is facing a pretty experienced Stanford offensive line on the road. So if you're worried about Stanford at all, and USC, of course, lost to Stanford last year, playing Rice is a nice little kind of tune-up for it. But Stanford is going to be bad again. So they lose guys out of the transfer portal. They don't get transfers in. They recruit pretty good. Tanner McKee is good. They're not going to be a good team. So they made 0 changes on the coach. They went 3-8 and made 0 changes on the coaching staff. Changed nothing. So, yes, I'm one of those things I told you guys last year Stanford was, but people got on me, especially because Stanford beat USC and Oregon. Then they went on to lose their last 7 games or whatever it is, and they're 3-8. So, 3-8. Yeah, 3-8. No, 3-9, right? 3-9. Sorry,
I didn't know Michigan was the 4th playoff team. Don't ask me records.
Yeah, they were 3-9. I'm sorry, this is a 12-game season. They lost 9 games last year. They're not going to be good. That place is going to be cavernous up there. We're going to have a whole team up there for Palo Alto. But if USC is having any troubles with Stanford, that's going to be a problem. But the whole point is Rice is sort of like
tune-up is the right word. That's the word I wanted.
Tune-up, yeah. I'll help you with the words. Chris, what's your hat? What are you wearing on your head there?
I'm wearing a hat from my sponsor for the Composite 2-Star Recruits. Always plug the brand. Meredith Schlosser, my official sponsor for the podcast, real estate agent in Los Angeles and New York, as you can tell by the brand.
Yeah.
One of the top 1.5 agents in the country, over $600 million
Top
in
1.5%.
Top
yeah.
1.5%. So just rocking, this isn't a sponsor for the Peristyle, but just giving my sponsor some love. Rocking the hat, the swag that I got.
I just knew you were so happy to get some swag. I had met with our friend Joan, who's a listener on the podcast, introduced us to Meredith, and I got to meet her yesterday and have lunch. And she was very excited to be sponsoring the 2-Star Recruiting podcast. So she gave me a little swag, so I got to bring Chris some swag. I knew he wanted to rep it, so I just wanted to let everyone know.
I'm a company man, Ryan, and you tell me to rep something, I will rep it. Here I am.
Nice.
I haven't got the water bottle.
What's it going to be, Wednesday night again for the?
I think it's going to be Wednesday night. I think
the recruiting podcast.
Yeah, and I think in a couple of weeks I'm going to just stay in the office and do it on Tuesdays. But
really?
For the next couple of weeks, it's going to be late night Composite 2-Star Recruits.
Okay. Cool. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back. We have a lot of email questions. I know there's a bunch of questions if you're watching live on YouTube. We'll try to get to all of those, and we'll let's talk about this USC Trojan team and opening the season against Rice. Back in a minute. All right. We are back here on the Peristyle Podcast. Thanks for sticking with us. I just got a text message that they were asking me to share something. Oh, so I'm going to do this right now. We'll do this live because we're doing it live. We have some breaking news. I'm going to let this. So this is coming from USC's Sports Information Department, our friend Katie Ryan. So, she said, could you announce that we're bringing back the Trojan Walk? It'll be in the usual spot, buses arriving in front of the Coliseum, and the team walking through the Peristyle and down to the field 2 hours and 45 minutes prior to kickoff. So on Saturday, that should be 12:15 or so. And so she just wanted to let everyone know. So I got that text while we're doing the show live. So, I mean, I don't know much faster we could get that out to the people. We're getting out to the people.
Live.
It's back. Our tailgate's going to start at noon, so you can stop by, walk over to the Trojan Walk. It's not that far, and then come back to the tailgate. It'd be a lot of fun. So
I know some parents were kind of concerned. They didn't know if that was still going to be a thing. So there we have it. I assumed it was going to be a thing still.
Talk to some parents, yeah, and it's early. I talked to one parent that didn't really want to be there like super early. They're getting nervous before games. So they kind of, what are you going to do? But yeah, that's pretty early, 2 hours and 45 minutes before the game. So make sure you go check that out. But thanks, Katie, for that one, and let everyone know. So you guys, if you want to go check out the Trojan Walk, you can do that. Let's jump into some questions. Our buddy JD, formerly of New York City, now Buckeye Country, so he's changed his sign off to JD and Buckeye Country. I thought of the below quote from an article in today's Athletic and thought of you. And the quote is, as a Notre Dame fan, former player and graduate, Mike Golick Jr. believes his disdain for USC is pure. To me, they were the Death Star when I was growing up in college football. We tend to hate things that are really good. Right now, I imagine a lot of people hate Alabama. Everyone hated USC because in the early 2000s, they were turning over one Heisman Trophy winning quarterback after another. They had everything everyone wanted. They were rock stars around there, and they just kept winning. What will it take this season for the dream of USC returning to the Death Star status to become a reality? What will be that signature win that causes fans around the country to say, quote, USC is back, fight on, JD and Buckeye Country? I like that.
I mean, in the spirit of the question, I don't think you can regain all that in one season.
No.
You cannot be like USC is back unless they win the national championship this year, or at the minimum, make it to the college football playoff. But obviously, they're not winning the national championship this year. Maybe there's a super, super outside shot that they, compete for a college football playoff. But you cannot restore that villainary status back in one season. It is creeping towards there. They're pretty kind of hated right now. With Lincoln Riley, all these transfers and whatnot. They're definitely, the arrow is moving back towards the villain status, and I know everyone wants to be back to that villain status. USC fans do, because that means you're doing something that pisses people off, and it's usually winning,
right?
And winning in a big fashion. So you can't really do that in one season. If you go like 9-3 or 10 wins, even, that's not enough. You got to do that consistently over several years. Come to the Big Ten, win the Big Ten your first year in there. Maybe compete for a college football playoff. I think that would be more indicative of that status coming back if you run through the Big Ten that first season and kind of make some noise there. I think that would be it. But again, if you beat the crap out of Notre Dame, that'd be another swing for the villain arrow towards getting back that status.
Yeah, and I think people are willing to believe that USC is good. Like the Texas is back thing is just sort of it's just been a thing forever, and
it's a meme now.
It's definitely a meme. I think for USC, people are willing to jump on the USC bandwagon fairly quickly, and they're just watching the offseason, they're believing, okay, this can be a top 10 team this year, even though they were 4-8 last year. So here's the thing. I think Utah is going to go into that USC game undefeated. And that's a big one, right? And they go on the road and beat Florida. That's it's a middle of the road SEC team, but it's on the road against an SEC team that has a lot of talent in the swamp. I think Utah is going to be legit. If USC can get over the Oregon State game, that's going to be a really tough road game, even though half the stadium is going to be gone because they're doing renovations and stuff to that. There's definitely a shot that USC could be undefeated going into the Utah game. I think Utah would be legitimate because of that SEC win. Who do they play? There's another one that they're playing. Is it BYU? I think they bet BYU maybe early. I'll have to look at their schedule. And, USC getting a couple of Pac-12 road wins going into it. That's a college game day deal where USC and Utah would have college game day in Salt Lake City. And I think Utah's a legit team, and I picked them to win the Pac-12. You get that win, and people will be, the USC back stuff will be full force, Now, there's other tough games you got on the schedule, but if they're undefeated through the Utah game, you're going to be talking about this. People will be talking about USC as a potential playoff team, for sure. And that's just middle of the season. But that's because you'd have like legit road win against a team that didn't lose at all in Corvallis last year, Oregon State, and then Utah, who we think is going to be really good this year. So, yeah, I think people will be talking about USC being back if they beat Utah. What do you think about that, Chris? Is that fair?
I'm holding firm to my thing that you can't be back in one season.
Yeah, that's good. You can't be back, but
they're still going to talk about it.
People are going to talk about it for sure.
There's still going to be a talking segment on ESPN for like 30 minutes about it.
Yeah. Alex wanted to know, hey guys, is the Big Ten versus SEC arms race just a proxy fight between Fox and ESPN? What would happen if the Big Ten and SEC actually work together, battle each other in the field, but work behind the scenes to help each other maximize revenue per school? Specifically, what if the SEC actually helped the Big Ten land Notre Dame? In return, the Big Ten could help the SEC reach one of its major goals towards, quote, world domination. Thank you for all the content and all your reporting on USC football, Alex.
Isn't that illegal?
Like tampering or something?
I don't know. It just sounds illegal.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to have common goals. I don't think the SEC wants the Notre Dame to go to the Big Ten. And could you do some kind of trade where like, okay, you take Notre Dame, we'll take Clemson, and sort of like divide up the world like it's a big risk game or something? I mean, maybe, but I feel like now, like if you listen to Kevin Warren before, he was saying he was hurting the SEC, who is in partner with ESPN, by not letting ESPN handle the expanded college football playoff alone. The Big Ten was saying like, oh, we want more automated bids and all that. But really it sounds like it was really more of a play to let Fox and other partners who they've now partnered with NBC and CBS, let anyone else besides ESPN be part of the college football playoff, because there's no, if you just extended the current playoff, ESPN's broadcasting everything. If you delayed it, which the Big Ten was a part of doing with the alliance, now Fox and their new partners, CBS and NBC, can be a part, and like the NFL playoffs, everyone gets games. So it's not just ESPN showing it. So in that sense, that was head to head. They're going, they're kind of going at each other. But now, Kevin Warren is fine with as many at-large bids as possible, like the SEC wanted, because they know they got a whole bunch of big brands. The SEC has a bunch of big brands. They don't need automatic bids. The winner of the Big Ten is getting in. The winner of the SEC is getting in. So I think they're going to have common, I don't want to say goal. I mean, there's common goals, but there's going to be some commonality between these two power conferences where they're looking at each other like, yeah, that helps us. That would help you too. But I don't know if they would work behind the scenes. I mean, maybe if it was something like that where it's like, hey, we just won a bunch of at-large bids, and they're like, Kevin Warren gives the SEC a call like, hey, this is what we're going to do. I'm on board with that. I don't think it would be to the point where you're helping them grow and get new programs. Probably not that. But as far as like working in this current system of the college football playoff, I think there's going to be some commonality between the two, and you could probably work together for that.
I was hoping for a food analogy.
Oh. Yeah, nothing really came to mind there. I'm not going to force feed it.
Yeah, I don't think they would sort of help each other that much behind the scenes. But it's also conference realignment, so I would not count anything out. Like if the report came out that they were, I'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I would not be shocked by anything. But no, I don't think that's sort of a behind the scenes thing that's going on. Two Titans looking for world domination in college football. They respect each other, but I think they'll just be kind of going along different paths and not really aiming to help each other and just see what happens.
Right. And I think, so Fox, the Big Ten and Fox were sort of doing things to sort of like hurting ESPN, which is hurting the SEC. I think the same thing. Like, I think the SEC would do things to make sure that Notre Dame has a path to the playoff as an independent. Like, they know they're not getting Notre Dame, but they'd rather Notre Dame be independent than join the Big Ten, you know? So if they're going to do things like, yeah, we want to be inclusive in the college football playoff, and one of the big things of not, you know, staying independent is, do you have a path to the playoff? And if Notre Dame continues to do that, I think the SEC would fully support it, knowing that it would, you know, be a detriment to Notre Dame joining the Big Ten, which might happen anyway. I don't know. But so, yeah, I think you can help in certain ways where it's like both big guys getting bigger. It's like Coke, here, you want Coke Pepsi thing? It's like there's certain things. If there's like a governmental regulation about selling soda, Coke and Pepsi are probably going to be on the same page, right? Like they're like, hey, we want to make sure we can continue to sell soda at whatever, high schools or something like that. If there was some national thing, they would probably work together on that. But if there were, you know, they weren't going to work together on something that would give one a competitive advantage over the other. It's sort of like, this is the best for the soda industry. We're the two titans of the soda industry. We're going to work together on this. So yes, if there's like, this is best for the college football playoff that would make our big brands better, the SEC and the Big Ten, I could see them working together for that.
Not quite a food analogy, but I'll take it.
That's food. You consume it.
I don't eat soda.
But
food and beverage.
Food and beverage included together. We got one from Alex. I'm sorry, that was what I just read. Sorry about that. Frank in Sacramento. Should Corey, first name, you know, he didn't even go Corey Foreman. Corey Foreman, as he means, be looking to move to a new program? It sounds like the coaches can't motivate him. What do you think, Chris?
No. I mean, that's a question where I don't want to get in trouble for saying anything, but I think it's, you know, I think a lot of motivation also has to go on a player as well. It's not, you know, just on coaches. It's kind of a two-way street. So, I mean, I'm not like implying anything. I'm just saying I don't think there's sort of a motivation issue going on there. I think just people are looking for reasons why Corey Foreman isn't on the field.
Yeah.
That could be a whole litany of things. Maybe it's not clicking. Maybe he is dealing with some sort of nagging injury, what have you. But I don't think necessarily that a lack of motivation on the coach's end is the reason for anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think people just were like, I want Corey Foreman to be the best player in the world, and he's not. What's going on? You know, everything's wrong and stuff like that.
Some players develop at different times. Sometimes, you know, it takes a couple seasons for things to kind of click and they put it all together. So, you know, even though he is a number one overall player,
he didn't play for like a year and a half, you know, like that's people forget that, you know, but whatever. Hey, we have a question from YouTube from Anthony.
Okay.
Any uncommitted recruits going to be at the game this Saturday? Yes.
Any uncommitted? Yes.
That's always going to answer that question.
Short answer, yes.
Yes.
There will.
Of course, there's going to be uncommitted recruits. There's like zillions of them coming to those
There'll
games.
probably be like well over 100 kids. Yeah. And again, not all of those kids are USC prospects. They're kids coming with their.
But they are uncommitted for the most part. Yes.
Yeah, but I think there'll be some names we'll have to see. I know some commits are going to go, and I think we'll get good turnout on the Coliseum floor, and I'll give those updates as I get them.
Yeah.
So I'll be on the field.
Chris will be on the field. We got a big crew going to be working the game, so I'm really excited for that. So make sure you stay tuned to USCfootball.com. Tons of stuff on the field. I'm happy that Shotgun's going to be out here for the game. He'll be taking pictures. We'll have him on our Thursday show. Should be a lot of fun. We got a text question. So I guess I think it's from Ryan. Another Ryan.
Yourself?
I like that. Yeah, different Ryan though. You're allowed to pick one player from the Helton era on offense and one on defense to do a do-over with the new coaching staff. Who do you pick on defense and who do you pick on offense? So I guess, okay, one player from Clay Helton's era that maybe you felt like didn't get the run that they should have got, but you want to give them a do-over now. It's really hard to think of.
It has to be like, does Drake London Or does that?
But like he had a huge year anyway. Like, I mean,
Yeah, but he broke his ankle.
yeah, but like, I think he's more thinking of someone that was like, man, that guy could have been awesome, and then
Okay.
didn't do that much or whatever. But like, if he was with this staff, he would be a lot better.
Maybe from a speed standpoint, Keenan Christian.
That could be good.
I would say Keenan Christian. I think that's a good one for offense. Just how Lincoln would utilize that speed. Defense is a little bit trickier. I'm trying to come on, Ryan, throw somebody out. Help me out here.
I'm going to look at a roster here. I'm going to like check
it's
out.
not like I have someone like off the dome ready to go.
Yeah. Let me see who would be.
I feel like it's a linebacker. I think it's a linebacker for me.
Like someone that would. I'm kind of blank. I was like trying to just look at a roster to see what. It's not easy to do that either, so I'm not going to do that. It's a great question. It's something you have to kind of go back and look at the different depth charts and go, oh, who would have been, how good would that have been? Like, so how about an offensive lineman? How about like someone, even like a Chuma Doga? Remember him?
Yeah, I do remember him. He's possibly getting traded to the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
Dallas Cowboys.
But he's been in the NFL for years and didn't really do much, right? At USC, he was just sort of like just had potential. Like, what if he came in as a freshman? He could be an All-American in college and then go on to his NFL career. So maybe someone like that.
I'm still trying to think of a defensive player, someone that.
John Houston.
Yeah, but John Houston did start at the end of his career, and
yeah,
he had issues putting on weight.
Palai'e Naotaote.
That's an interesting one, but it was more so because of injuries and stuff.
Yeah,
that kind of sapped that kind of career from him. So that one's a little bit different. It's not like he didn't kind of get on the field.
David has a funny comment about when we were talking about Drake London. He says, so David said, LOL, he broke his ankle. I mean, Helton was bad, but not that bad. Clay Helton didn't break his ankle is what he's saying. And Helton was gone by the time he broke his ankle, right?
That's true.
Yeah, Helton was not. This is definitely not on Helton.
Maybe a tight end.
Gary Lewis says Drake Jackson.
Yeah. But it also, that's the guy who started for 3 years, so it's like.
I guess they could, like, maybe someone that like Chuma Doga started, but like didn't have the production that you would have expected from their talent level. Maybe that's better. Like what could they have done with a good coaching staff? That's what I would say with Drake London. Like he still could have won the Biletnikoff, like they didn't I don't think they held him back. They just sort of just rode him. Like he was like what Clay Helton would say, big horse. Like he was their big horse. They rode all the way in. Yeah. But like someone like Chuma Doga was just sort of like he got some penalties. He just never really did much. But he was drafted, I think, in the second round. Has been in the NFL like ever since. Like Elijah Tucker performed well, so I wouldn't.
He was a first round pick.
Yeah, so I wouldn't really.
Jay Tufele.
That could.
5-star guy coming out of high school.
Yeah,
third
I
round
think I could
pick.
do that.
It's a little bit slanted because he it's the COVID year. He opted out, kind of had a deal, so that kind of screws up this experiment. But he's a guy probably would have had a lot more development with a different staff, and maybe could have tapped into that 5-star potential a little more than what we saw out of him during his time here at USC.
Yeah. Dave said Velus Jones, too.
Velus Jones, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Just all that speed, not enough utilization there. Dominic Davis is also a guy who just wasted speed. Didn't know what to do with him. Running back, wide receiver, cornerback, just didn't have a spot for him. I feel like
Junior Palme from Blessum Breaks. There was an Olawale Batiku is another one.
Mm-hmm.
You could put that one.
Does someone say breaks as in they break sports cards?
Blessum Breaks. I don't know. That's what their
If you're listening, if you're still here, let me know if that's what you do. I assume if you have breaks, you do sports cards breaks.
And Anthony said Chuma got released today. LOL. But I mean, he was still in the NFL for,
Wow.
years. But like, you wouldn't look at his USC career and go, wow, he was a stud. That's why he went in the second round. He came in as a 5-star. He looked like a ridiculously, athletic. The way you look at him, he should be a great offensive lineman. He didn't perform like a great offensive lineman at USC. So they didn't use him, they didn't develop him to the potential, but he still was good enough to get drafted fairly high and stay in the NFL for a while. So that's something that like USC brought in a guy that had a lot of talent and didn't really do anything with it. That would be more.
Justin Dietch would have been a pick there because he's someone who was like, he's so talented. Why isn't he starting? A lot of like, Justin Dietch needs to be in the lineup, but obviously that's being utilized now. He's a right guard starter and he's going to be a team captain. So Dietch almost on this list, but he's going to have the opportunity to kind of showcase his talents in 2022 and be a deserved starter for this offensive line.
Here's one from, let me see. This is Eddie. Let me pull it up here.
Is this the solo guy?
Yeah, he's our solo guy. Will the city of Los Angeles sue the P when we burn down the city after Solo's first sack?
See, I didn't even know. I was like, that's the solo guy, so this is obviously going to be a solo question. Eddie's no longer allowed to ask any question that's not related to solo.
Yeah.
Returned to practice today.
Yeah.
Was prepping against the scout team defense, not on the scout team defense. So looks like he's on track to play this weekend. Maybe get some second half action. Maybe get a sack. Yeah, I think that whole sideline will go crazy if he gets in the backfield and makes a play.
Nice. We have a question from Jacob on YouTube. Who do we think starts at wideout? I got to talk to Dennis Simmons today, the outside wide receivers coach. It was extremely soft today, but I also talked to Terrell Bynum too.
You mean his voice, not his mentality?
No, he's like a soft talker. And it's hard because there's like a lot of stuff going on. But anyway, with Dennis, he was asked that specifically, and he's like, I have a good idea, but I'm not going to tell you guys.
Dennis Simmons does not give away information. He's the right-hand man of Lincoln Riley.
Yes.
No way you're going to get any offensive intel out of that man.
Right.
But I would say 1, 2, 3, 4.
You like 1, 2, 3, 4?
I like 1, 2, 3, 4.
I kind of still am feeling some Terrell Bynum love. I think he's going to, we'll see.
That's just because you talked to him today.
I did. I requested him. He was like one of the only people. I was the only one to talk to him. And then when other people kind of finished, they came over and stuff too. Our buddy John Abrea, he says, hello, Ryan and Chris. I'm trying to understand Coach Alex Grinch's defensive scheme and how he's using different players. Can you please look at the names of these players from their recent past and tell us where they would fit into Alex Grinch's scheme and who their counterpart is on this year's team? So he's gave 3 prominent former USC defensive players. Where do you think they would fit? Now, we haven't seen him coach a single game at USC yet, John, so this might be a little hard, but we'll do our best. Who would play the Sua Craven's role? Like
what current player is Sua Craven?
Yeah, like it's probably like the Romello height kind of thing, right? Like,
yeah. If you again, I didn't watch Sua Craven's play, but I know obviously he was
more of like a safety that was like at the line of scrimmage a lot. Like he would be more like Talanoa Fungish, I think.
Yeah, that edge spot is interesting because I don't know how Sua was as a pass rusher. That's something you could answer, but that is what that position mainly requires. But there is coverage. There's dropping in coverage,
right?
And obviously Sua as a safety.
Sua did more coverage than but he did some pass rush. But I kind of like it's sort of that like hybrid spot. Like I don't know. That's the closest one.
I honestly think maybe that nickel spot actually for Sua because that nickel in that defense is sort of like another linebacker because you're playing so close to the line of scrimmage. You're required to come up and help and run support. And, you're going up against sometimes a smaller guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're matched up on a big tight end. And I think Sua obviously has the body type. He has the coverage skills to kind of hang with those smaller guys. but he's also, got some hit as a linebacker. So playing up bigger, can play closer to line of scrimmage. So I would say maybe that nickel spot, actually, even though USC is kind of employing smaller nickels right now.
Yeah, like you got
with,
Jalen Smith there.
Jalen Smith and Max Williams, who's kind of playing more free safety now. But, I would say that kind of nickel spot, because then those positions can also move. Like we've seen Jalen drop back while Max comes up. Those safeties are really versatile and interchangeable. So I kind of like the nickel. I'm talking myself into the nickel.
Okay, then maybe the next one, Uchenna Nwosu, I think he would probably be like the Romello height. He would be like the Russian.
Sam, Uchenna played kind of that more traditional Sam linebacker off the edge, and that's kind of what that rush end position is. So I think that's a kind of a perfect fit. He is a little bit bigger in terms of like weight, in terms of Romello height compared to his height, compared to Height's height. But I still think it works.
And then last one, Iman Marshall. Big corner. So he's a big corner.
Big corner. I don't think Big E was that fast. And I think speed kind of plays a bigger role for this defense. It emphasizes that. But, we got to remember that Big E was like sort of maybe like hailed as like a generational type guy at a Long Beach Poly. That's how good he was. So he would still be useful, even though maybe he wasn't, the fastest defensive back. But a lot of people thought maybe he'd be a better safety. He was big, obviously. There's a possibility they turned him into kind of a strong safety, kind of play him closer to the box because he was like 6'1". So I think that could be a possibility as well, kind of moving him into kind of a safety role. I know that was talked about with him and his body type. So I could see him being kind of a strong safety, maybe more of a linebacker kind of guy. He'd be fast for a linebacker, maybe a little too slow for a safety. So maybe kind of a hybrid position. Maybe
Kalen Bullock? I don't know, like something like that.
Kalen has more athleticism and just overall range than Iman. So why do I call him Iman? Biggie. Biggie. I think you would just have to play Biggie closer to the line of scrimmage because he's not a burner.
Yeah.
Like Kalen or even Jalen. Obviously Sierra Wright's got some speed too. Mekhi Blackman's got some speed, but he's kind of a slower.
Blackman's a little bigger, right? Like he's.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just gonna keep it simple, you're just gonna play that kind of Blackman spot.
Yeah.
The boundary cornerback, if you will, kind of the bigger cornerback as opposed to the field, which is more so that athletic guy, that playmaker down the field.
Yeah.
So
a lot more space.
I think you got some options with Biggie, depending on how you wanted to. What you want to do with his body type.
Cool. Yeah, we got a couple more. I'll try to grab some more questions from if you're watching live on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please smash that like button. We need a bunch of likes on this one. I think we have 180-something people watching live.
Wow.
Middle of the afternoon. I like it. I did tweet it out a little earlier. Sometimes we don't even announce when we're going live, but should be around the same time. Maybe I'll do a standing 1 o'clock. We basically get done with practice, create a whole bunch of content, get over here and try to get everything going, and then boom. Then we just go live. So, that's just sort of that's how we roll at these things. Let me go to the next question. But yeah, please hit that like button. We love that. I'll read both of these on the NIL space. I mentioned earlier in the show, we had some questions. So Keith wrote in, hey guys, I still don't understand the disconnect between Boulevard and SBR. He's talking about student body right. Per their post on the Peristyle, Boulevard appears to be very comprehensive and effective, and is also blessed by Lincoln Riley. In light of this, what prompted big money boosters to start Student Body Right? And then Steven wants to know, how do I donate money to the NIL cause?
They open up their memberships.
So they posted on the Peristyle. You can get all that. You can, as of this weekend, you can post it there. So it's really easy to do, Steven. But any thoughts on the SBR Boulevard stuff? Chris?
I think there was a lot of warranted criticism about Boulevard and their progress and moving things along. And I think SBR really kind of lit a fire under Boulevard to kind of tweak some things, change some things that maybe donors and boosters weren't happy with in terms of, the overhead that, that Boulevard was having. It changed from 15 to 5%. There's also, about donations, not going 100% to where a donor wants them to go. Like, I think it was like 50-50.
Yeah.
50% will go to, if you want to donate to football, 50 will go to football, and then the other 50 will go to a general fund, I believe. So, SBR coming along kind of breeded some changes. It breeded them to kind of go back to the drawing board like, hey, this is kind of what they want. So I think we're going to need to tweak it up a bit, maybe move up our timelines a little bit. Competition, Ryan.
Yep.
And anything, not just a football field.
We've seen, I think Boulevard got better because SBR, like if SBR just went away, which I don't think they're doing, they're not doing that. It made Boulevard better.
Yeah.
They had to make changes. And we had, David Jones on talking about some of those changes. And, they've been really nice. They're posting on the Peristyle when they went live. They're answering people's questions. So they're in there. He said they got, it was like 6 figures worth of donations in the first 2 hours. Yeah. So that was pretty good. I think the one common thing I've seen about this, Keith, your original question, is that they didn't look at Boulevard. Boulevard wasn't launched yet, and there was talk about Boulevard. And it's a unique sort of way to do things, but it isn't put a pile of money on a prospect's desk and say, here you go, come to our school. And I think a lot of the USC fans and boosters wanted to see, hey, where's that? What's going on? So then the student body right people come along, and we do interviews with them, and they explain what's going on. They're also not involved in they put a bag of money on a prospect's desk. They're more about creating a salary for everyone that's on the roster. And the good thing about Boulevard, it's not exclusive. You don't have to opt in. So if student body right comes along, and I've talked to parents that are excited about that too, where they're like, yeah, if there's more avenues for these players to make money, that's great. But the whole point is like there was fans that are just like, well, who's paying the prospects? Like that's what they wanted. I think that's what they wanted. That's why they're excited for student body right, because Boulevard wasn't paying prospects, but
they
student
wanted
body right,
bagmen.
They wanted bagmen, but neither one of these organizations are bagmen. So like some of that would be whatever. But anyway, yeah, this is all playing out. It is funny to kind of see because I'm getting emails from both sides. I'm getting like messages. They're both, they want to play in this space, and Boulevard is the official partner, which I need to quite understand how that works because they're not like a collective, they're Collective Plus, but there's like an official partner with USC, and they're going to take, they launched web shows and all these kind of things that they're doing. Student body right's going to be more traditional, except it's not going after prospects. It's like, hey, you're a booster, donate money. We're going to give the money to the players, and they got to do like some charity work or something. And you can write that off. It's a write-off there. So we'll see how that comes. I don't anticipate this being some like feud going on for a long time, but it's like uncharted territory, and people are trying to launch their new brands. Like if you're like, oh, I'm opening a confectionery restaurant on this side of the street, and then Chris opens like a donut shop that sells cakes and stuff on that side of the street. You're like, well, it's a little bit different, but we're kind of doing the same things. And it's like, can we both succeed? Things like that. So I don't know. There's
Good
another
analogy.
Good analogy if you like that kind of stuff. Let's see. We got one last email, and then I'll try to get some more of the comments from YouTube. Aiden in LA. Ryan. Uh-oh. Is there bad blood between you and Keely? Keely, you are a former intern, former reporter, does a great job. She got hired by USC back in January. So I just finished listening to the Reign of Troy podcast, and they had Keely on there, and she mentioned something about a beef between you. Okay, she did mention that. I listened to that. And tried to deny it, but then made an excuse that didn't really sound believable at all for why she won't be coming on any of your podcasts. She said USC compliance won't allow it because it would be a violation. But Bone, Sosna, USC coaches, strength staff, and even recruiting staff have been all allowed on your podcast in the past. Why would Keely be the only athletic department employee not allowed on?
Because it's a bullshit rule.
Yes. So here's the thing. There's no beef. Keely is still, she texts with all of us. She texted me the other day because we used to joke about her like kind of breaking whatever. Like she would be using some kind of piece of technology and somehow it would break. And someone close to her had said this thing, like she had broke something, and they're like, I used to do this with Ryan all the time. Keely and I are friends. I think she's gone out on her own. She worked for me for 7 years. Like her whole professional career was with me. She needed to kind of spread her wings, and we applaud her for it. We're really happy for her. We're rooting for her. I think she's going to do great. The one thing she did say was she couldn't read the Peristyle because she wasn't comped anymore. So 247 did remove her subscription when she stopped working there. Once I heard that, I was like, that's dumb. So I since rectified that. So I sent her an email letting her know today, like, hey, she's comped again. So she can check out the P if she wants to. But no, there's no bad blood. Like literally that's the excuse they gave. And you are exactly right in all those things. We've had recruiting, people from the recruiting staff on the show. I think this is just more about sometimes compliance gets a little like, well, you can't do that.
Know what they're doing.
Yeah. If we wanted to push back at all, we could point out all the different.
Just send them all the links to.
Yeah. And they're saying 247 is a recruiting source. Like we have national writers that are not talking about recruiting, that are on the Paul Feinbaum show talking about college football. Like we cover college football, and recruiting is part of it. It's not a recruiting service. So yeah, it's completely dumb, Aiden.
But it's a real excuse. It's the real reason. It's not. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's the real reason.
If there was, we would love to have Keely on, and she would love to come on. And if this is a fight you wanted to fight, like it's her first year there, we don't need to be. I don't ever want to rock the boat for Keely and let what she's doing. So, but if it was like some real reason, and she was like, man, I wish I could come on, I would go in there and throw a fit, and she would be on. But I'm pretty confident that could happen. But probably not going to bother with that right now. But it's completely dumb, hypocritical. It makes no sense. But that's
USC compliance.
That's what we've been dealing with at USC for years.
Why can't we take photos of recruits, but SEC schools can take photos of recruits?
You follow the same. You're under the NCAA rules. It's
you're all under the same, and it's all about interpretation. But SEC's been interpreting it for like many years, and nobody's in trouble. So why not USC?
Yeah, I do not know, but there's that. Let's do. This is an interesting one from Lee. Let me pull it up here. Do you think Raleigh Brown will eventually wear number 5?
I think you would have to have like an All-American season.
Okay.
And then the next year, that could be like the bestowed upon number. Obviously, he would love to wear number 5, but obviously that has to be earned. So I think he would have to be, let's say, sophomore year, comes out, balls out, has like 2,500 all-purpose yards, I don't know, something ridiculous, and he's an All-American. I think next year you could see maybe, my junior year, maybe I can get that Reggie blessing to wear number 5. I think that's what would have to happen. He would have to have a monster year, have that recognition already, especially for 5, like, or any number in general. But like, you need to already be a dude to kind of earn that the right to ask for it.
But he's got the 14, the 1 + 4, so he's there.
Wink.
He's very close. Let's see. So Cameron says, any concern about USC's big commits from Los Alamitos after they got rolled on ESPN Saturday?
Concerned about decommitments?
I don't know. Or are they not as good as you're saying? Like,
I mean, Makai Lemon balled the F out. I mean, he is that dude. He is him, as they say. Just even national writers on our site were like, I didn't really know what to think of Makai Lemon, but he went out there and showed he is a 5-star caliber player. And he is a guy that shows up when the pads come on and the helmet comes on. And I don't know. I don't know about worry. You're not worried about Makai Lemon in terms of his talent. I guess the only one would be Malachi Nelson. But he threw 3 touchdown passes. That offense really couldn't keep up against American Heritage. And I just think that that was just a mismatch for them. I mean, Los Al isn't really. They have talent, obviously, but they're not really on caliber of like.
They're not like modern day
or St. John Bosco. Not like that yet. They don't have the depth. You know, they still have guys who kind of play both ways, and that's why their defense kind of gets run down because they don't really have. You know, everyone on Bosco in modern day is a one-way player essentially. Yeah. Except for a few occasions.
Specialists.
They have. Yeah, they're like college teams. So.
Yeah. Here's our second down middle linebacker, and then here's
right. So the Griffins don't really have that kind of firepower, especially when you're going against, you know, obviously they're going against across the country. They're going to Florida. They're high school kids. It's a Saturday game. It's a bunch of weird things going on. So I think that may be affected, but I'm not worried in terms of talent of a Malachi Nelson or a Mekhi Lemon. Nor am I worried about decommitments. You know, Malachi was kind of teasing about staying tuned, and then USC got a commitment right after that. So I think he's full force ahead for the Trojans.
Let's do a couple more. Michael, any indication on what the turnout will be on Saturday?
Not really. I'm still holding my 70.
70?
70K.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going like 68. But we did hear. Talked about this on television, I think, a little bit. You know, I heard from people in the ticket office, and they were pleased. Ahead of schedule from what we heard as far as season tickets go and things like that. So that's pretty cool. I think we had one. Let's see. There was one. Will SC punt more than 4 times against Rice?
More than 4 times?
No.
Ooh, okay. So over under 4. You're taking the under.
I'm taking the under for 4. Yeah. You?
I guess I have to take the over.
Okay.
Just to be against you.
Wow, you're just terrible.
I think there'll be like 1 in the first half, and then really depends on. Wait, so I have to go 5?
Yeah.
Okay, now I don't like this, but I'm gonna hold on to it.
And one last one: passing yard predictions for Caleb Williams.
For Rice?
Yeah, against Rice.
5
passing yards.
Oh, yards. I thought you said touchdowns. Yards. I mean, I think he's not gonna play a full game. Obviously,
no.
I would say let's go. I'll say 350.
Wow.
Damn. Is that too much?
I think so. I'm going because I think he's going to play like a little more than 2 quarters. I think he could have 4 or 5 touchdowns, but he probably has like a rushing touchdown. I think he's going to throw for like 240, but like
240.
But he'll go like,
I was way over.
18 of 20.
Whatever, I'm holding to it.
4 touchdowns, 240 yards. Like it'll just be really efficient, and he'll have scoring, score, but he's not going to like throw for like 300 something yards, like because he's just not going to be in the game that long. So.
Look, I'm just banking on like a 60-yard bomb to Jordan Addison.
He could,
a 50-yard reception to. I think they're just going to throw bombs all over the field, so that's why I'm banking on 350. But
yeah,
probably a little high. If I have to readjust it, I'd probably go like 300. But I said it; it's out of my mouth. Let's see what happens.
Nice. Put that in your predictions. Then he's going to throw for 350.
No. I will not. I don't reveal predictions. Predictions.
My bad. Sorry.
Also, 10 Bowl predictions coming out on Thursday. So
nice.
Check your local internet sponsor.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for us.
Good. I'm falling asleep, so let's. Yeah.
People say that sometimes. It's a tough morning. We had to be there. You're at USC early. I know you're there watching the guys coming out of the tunnel and everything.
That's all I have.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Obviously, USCFootball.com will have a ton of interviews and analysis of what's going on for Rice Week. We will still have a recruiting podcast, the 2-Star Recruiting Podcast Composite with Chris and Gerard will be coming up probably early Thursday morning. Thursday night, we're going to have Tunnel Vision again. So it'll be on a podcast feed too, but it'll be a preview of USC versus Rice. So make sure you check that out. We'll have team previews coming up. Tom Hare's back doing the previews, I think, for like the 20th year for us at USCFootball.com. He's an old friend of the site. He writes for like a magazine in Boston right now, but he always loves coming on and doing these really comprehensive game previews. So we'll keep putting those up from Tom. And then, of course, game day is going to be crazy. Make sure you check out the tailgate because we're going to have a lot of fun over there. the African American Museum on the lawn. So come check us out there starting at noon. The Trojan Walk, we broke that during the show, telling you about that. 12:15 is about when they're going to go through the Peristyle, so you can kind of check all the players and stuff going through that. And then Sunday night, we're going to do our recap tunnel vision show. So lots of ways you can keep up to date with what's going on with the team. Of course, USCfootball.com is a great way to do it. If you're not a subscriber, you can sign up for $1. So get over there and do that. But all of our channels, YouTube, on all of our podcasting platforms, you can get all that stuff as well. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in to the Peristyle Podcast. For Chris Trevino over there, I am Ryan Abraham. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.